Mare Kudifayo, and you'll go Inyan Re, Inyan Re. Then I will go Mare Kudifayo, and you'll go.
This evening, we are very, very fortunate to have someone who has the masking tradition from the Black Indians of Mardi Gras in the Louisiana area. And those of you who were in the class last week actually got a little history on who Black Indians are, because people are saying, what are you talking about? Okay, and the relationship that that African people, as they escaped, and also free African people, had with Native Americans, and that's been since the first Africans were here in this country. Okay, and so I want to, without further ado, because he's going to do a lot of explaining, and then we also have a film that we want to see. Please give a warm welcome to Chief Darryl Montana.
Thank you. I finally made it. And the reasons why I'm saying that is because I had gotten a phone call, I think somewhere around early July, or no, early June. Early June. And I was very excited that I was called to be here. And in response to that, Ms. Terry called back. I thought maybe, I said, well, they haven't called me back, so maybe they canceled it. And about maybe a month ago, I got a call. And but what she did, she texted me and told me that they were evaluating the first class. So that's why it was taking so long for me to really get here. But I am honored to be here, truly, truly honored to be here. I always say that I don't really represent me. I represent the person that got me this far, and that was my father, Big Chief Darryl Montana. Back in my family, what I do, my family has been doing since 1869. My daddy had an uncle. His name was B.K. Baptiste. He was the offspring of a Native American and a slave. He thought the highest level he can pay to the Native people for helping his ancestors escape to freedom was for us to dress as Indians, and our family has been doing it ever since. My daddy was the third generation, I'm the fourth, and my grandsons are the sixth. There's no families that's doing it can go back 6 generations. So you are really getting the cream of the crop. Thank you. My daddy started in 47. I started in 67, 20 years later. My daddy did it for 54 years. And right now, I've been around it for 54 years, but I've not dressed for 54 years. I've kind of missed some years in between, but my daddy taught me about consistency. It's about being consistent, and I can honestly say, other than Katrina, because Katrina hit our city 9 years ago, I did not dress in 2006, because I had just moved back to New Orleans. We were living in Texas for 6 months, and the following year, in 2007, I dressed again. But again, I started in 67. To make the suits that we wear, we're looking at maybe 5,000 hours a year to make one suit. Every year, we make a new suit, and we never wear the same part of a suit twice. We only wear that particular suit 3 times. That's Carnival Day, St. Joseph Night, that's March 19th, and Super Sunday. Super Sunday was something that was created in about 1975. We figured that a lot of the senior citizens really didn't get a chance to see us, because when we come out on Carnival Day, we are basically playing a war game. And if we had a particular route that we take, the opposing tribe that we're going against would know where to find us. So we don't have a particular route we take. We do basically are playing hide and seek. But in the earlier days, before I got started, they really used to fight, physically fight. I remember as a child, I was like maybe 5, and I used to hear my cousins who used to be able to sneak off and go see the Indians. They'd come back and say, Mamut, they chop your daddy up, and for a little child to hear that their daddy was chopped up was frightening. But my daddy was recognized for stopping the violence within the culture. He said, you think you're bad? He said, why don't you stop wearing that old stuff and make you a new suit? Get pretty. So it went from physically fighting to, we say now, fighting with the needle and thread. And I always say that my daddy, within this culture, he was what Muhammad Ali was to boxing. My daddy was that to the culture. And I was just explaining to the lady sitting here just now, when my daddy died, he really did not know how far out in this universe he had gone. His sister's doctor was from Australia. And the day he was funeralized, he had gotten a call from Australia, the doctor. His family said they had seen this big old funeral in New Orleans, and he said, I know, I was there. My daddy's funeral was the biggest funeral I had ever seen so far. He did not know that he had gone that far out into the universe. But having said that, there's a lot of stuff that we do within the tradition, and we don't change anything. We do this prayer song because when we would go out to battle, because remember, they used to physically fight, and you really wasn't guaranteed you was going to return back home. So we would always sing this Indian spiritual song called Indian Red. It's call and response. The chief calls out all the members of the tribe, and I'm going to give you the positions within the tribe and tell you exactly what their role is, because we're playing a war game. The first person you would meet when we line up would be the spy boy. The spy boy, he's the scout. He's the eyes. His job is to scout and look for the opposing tribes that we're looking to meet. When he discovers a tribe, he's like 2 blocks ahead of us. And technology kind of messed it up a little bit, y'all, because let me tell you something. Some of the guys now, they on the cell phone, yeah, I see a tribe around, 3 blocks down the street there. That's not how you do it. Basically, the spy boy, when he discovers that there's a tribe up ahead, he'll go. You can't really talk to him, so you see him, he's jumping, and he's just moving around, and spy boy, and you look down there, you say, man, Fred must have spotted a tribe. So what happens, by Fred doing his thing 2 blocks ahead, then you got the flag boy. His job, he carries the flag. On the flag has the name of that particular tribe. So what he does with his flag, the flag boy, he tells Fred, well, he takes his stick and he do like that. So the whole while the chief is way in the back, he's looking at that flag. When he see that flag doing that, he says, a gang up ahead. Come on, y'all, let's tighten up. And in the documentary, you may get a chance to hear him say it. Let's tighten up. We're about to meet a gang. What the guy, the flag boy, does with the flag, he'll say, you want us to hold on? You want us to go left or go right? And it's basically throwing signals. You have the spy boy, you have the flag boy, you have the little braves, that's the little boys that's coming up. You have queens, you can have 4 chiefs if you have enough people in the tribe. If there's chiefs, the first chief that you meet will be the 3rd chief. We line up. Now in between there, you're gonna have the wild man. The wild man, he's the wild man because he's gonna have horns in his crown. He's the wild man. His job is to basically act wild and keep folks off the Indians, because a lot of times when we come out, the crowd be trying to see what we're doing, and they kind of crowd us up, and they break us up because we're wearing feathers. So his job is to act wild and do his thing. Then you're going to have the third chief, the second chief, the big chief or the first chief, and behind the chief you have a guy, he's the fourth chief. He's called trail chief. He's called the trail chief because his job is to what? Trail the big chief, because we're playing a war game, and the object of the game is you can't let him get to your chief. Yeah, you can't let him get to your chief. And sometimes you could think you seeing the whole tribe coming your way, and when they get to the corner, some of them break off and make the block. So if they go around and make the block, then you think you're meeting everybody, but then they're coming from the back door. So the trail chief, his job is to watch the back. I never forget the first year I became chief. I became chief in 1997. We were uptown, in the uptown area of the city. It was St. Joseph night. And there was a tribe that we had seen at Jackson Avenue, which was on my left side. And there was a tribe up ahead. What I should have did was I should have met the tribe on my left first, because they was the closest. What I wind up doing, because I was learning, because this was on-the-job training. I wound up meeting the tribe that was in front of me. And what happened? The other tribe came around the back door, and they got us. But trial and error, and I always used to tell the guys within the tribe that when I became chief, my daddy didn't give me a how to be a chief manual. It was on-the-job training. And when you're out there on the street, you learn about the mistakes that you make. But it's a very interesting thing to see. I never would have thought that something that I started doing when I was 9 years old, that almost 50 years later, I'm still doing it. It's like an addiction. You know, once you, in the documentary, when you get a chance to see the documentary, you hear my daddy talk about, it's like, because he couldn't stop. In fact, some of you got a chance to see his documentary, Tootie's Last Suit documentary. You got a chance to see it? And some of the chiefs said that, yeah, this is Tootie's last year, yeah, and there's gonna be another one and then another one. And just like that, that's just the way it happened. But in the documentary, my daddy died in the documentary. And I never forget, I was working at a summer camp teaching kids how to do the bead work. And I was trying to hurry up to get off so I could go, because we were going to meet with the city council because we were having problems with the New Orleans Police Department was harassing us. And I never forget, when I was leaving the camp that day, I told one of my coworkers, I said, we're going to make history today. Because we was getting a chance to go in front of the city council to deal with the police department. Never thought that my daddy would die at that meeting. And I never forget, this was like, it was June 27th. It was like maybe a Thursday evening. And my daddy really, he had been sick, but he was one, he never wanted to go to the doctor. He would always try to fix himself. And I have a nephew that lived in New York, came for Jazz Fest, and we were at Jazz Fest, and my daddy couldn't walk. He couldn't walk too far. He had to take, and my daddy was a walker. He was the kind of man, when I would go with him, when he would go to the barber shop, I used to almost have to run behind him to keep up with him, because that's how fast he walked. But he had gotten to the point where he couldn't walk a half a block without having to sit down and take a break. So I talked to my nephew, who was friends with a doctor. They came over because on Friday evenings, the family would come together. My mama would fix. In fact, in the documentary, you'll get a chance to see we would eat fried fish, potato salad every Friday. No matter what was going on in your life, Friday was theirs. And we all had to be there. So the doctor came and scared my daddy to go to the hospital. He went to the hospital, and they ran tests on him. And before the results came back, my daddy was dead. They said he was fine. And he died, but my daddy died on television. When he was laying on that floor, before they was able to bring him to the hospital, I got calls from California, from New York. They seen it. And I never would have thought, but the city was like that Friday, it was like the whole city. You know, you see, mostly on Sundays, you don't see a whole lot of traffic. This was a Friday. The whole city was like in mourning. You wasn't seeing nobody walking the streets. There was no traffic on the street. And unbelievable. But having said that, when he dropped dead, they were saying, let's pray. I said, no, Indian raid. And when my daddy died on that floor with us singing, he died, he had a smile on his face. And the song that we were singing was Indian Raid. It's when we call out the different positions, because once the chief called out the positions, whether it be the spy boy or the flag boy, chief has not seen their stuff yet, because it's carnival day. And this is the day the chief finally getting a chance to see what they've been working on all year. And they sing the Indian Raid. The chief called out the spy boy. When the spy boy hears his name, he break out, spy boy, yellow Pocahontas, Lulu Walker-Nilla. I'm the spy boy, killed the caterpillar. Make the caterpillar climb the slippery wall. When he get to the top, he better not fall. I'm the spy boy. So we say stuff like that. We rib. Like some of the guys, there's two different styles of sewing. There's the uptown style and there's the downtown style. The downtown style is 3-dimension. The stuff protrudes off of the suit. If I stood this way, you would still be able to see my work. The uptown style is pictures, flat panels, so if I turn this way, you can't see it. You would have to walk around to see it because it's flat. My daddy was the one who created the 3-dimensional pieces. Everything within a tradition came from him. If you ever get a chance to go to New Orleans, and I say my daddy got his wings, there's a statue, a bronze statue of him in Congo Square that they erected since his death. He's got his wings. So I am very proud to have had a father like that. He always would tell me not to be a follower, but to be a leader. Be a leader. And in the documentary, you may have seen we challenge one another. And I believe that, see, when my daddy retired, I think he thought he was going to design my stuff and I wear his stuff for him because he couldn't carry it no more. But I felt like I got a brain too. I know I could do it. So I think that was the tension within the documentary because he thought it was going to be one way, but it wound up being another way. And he prepared me because a lot of it, within this thing, everybody wanted to be a chief. Within my daddy tribe came like 8 other tribes. Guys left the tribe and say, I'm a chief. And pulled their own tribe. And you know what? Mostly all those tribes that started are no longer even existing anymore. I kind of felt like, because the day he died, most of them guys, because they really found that once they went out there, it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. So now they won't come back home. And in front of my daddy's door, they drummed and sang every night until he was buried. But they would come around and say, man, we all need to come and mass hunters for your daddy. And I look at them, now they're going to use his death as a way to sneak back in. And I told them, I said, you know what? Y'all should have did that while he was living so he could see it. And I said, you know what? But then I don't really need y'all. But my daddy made me that way. You know what I'm saying? Because within the tradition, it's about being loyal. And I always say this, that I'd rather have 5 loyal people than 45 snakes. You know? Because one time I had 45. But I had so many different personalities. They was arguing with one another, and it really was like getting on my nerves. But the people I have in the camp now, sometimes you show them things, and once they learn some of the stuff that you know, they think, oh, I got it, now I could be a chief. But guess what? You're never going to learn enough. In fact, I was at the studio today with Sean. Sean, I'm telling you, if Sean was living in New Orleans with the kind of work that he's producing, he'd be a bad man. You know? And I'm going to tell you something. And I told my daughter, I was telling my daughter, because she always said, yeah, Daddy, go get him. You know? Because it's a competition thing. Everybody wants to be, you know. And I'll never forget my little sister told me this. She said, Mamut, because I got a chance to do a lot of exhibits in museums, and I traveled a lot. My daddy used to tell my mama when they called for him, he said, tell him I'm not home. So she'd give me the phone, and if they wanted somebody to be somewhere, I said, well, I'll go do it, you know. And that's what I wind up doing. But I want to do Indian Red, and I want you all to do call and response. I need to get some participation, though. I need to get a spy boy. Spy boy. Come here. I'm going to show you how it go, and then you're going to do what you see me do, right? Flag boy. I need a flag boy. Come on, flag. Wild man. I need a wild man. Wild man? Mm-hmm. Come on, we just having fun, y'all. Now, mind you, we need queens too. I need a queen. Queen, come on, put your bag down. All right, we singing Indian Red. We in front of the door. The chief is out. Your chief is out. Y'all waiting for the chief to come out, but the chief hasn't really gotten a chance to see your suit, right? So I'm gonna do it first to show you how you do it, and then I'm gonna want you to do it when I call your positions out, all right? We singing Indian Red. Call and response, everybody. I'm gonna call, you're gonna respond. It goes like this. Mighty Cootie Fire, and you'll go. Indian Red, Indian Red. Then I will go. Mighty Cootie Fire, and you'll go. Indian Red, Indian Red. We are Indian. I say Indian. I mean Indians of the nation. The whole wild creation. And we won't bow down. And we won't bow down. Down on that ground, on that dirty ground. Because I love to hear you call my Indian Red. Oh, Chacamofino, Ohio, Ohio. I said, Ohio, Ohio, Ohio. I mean, Ohio, Ohio, Ohio. I said, Ohio, Ohio, Ohio. Oh, my Indian Red. Oh, my Indian Red. Oh, my Indian Red. Oh, my Indian Red. Because I love to hear you call my Indian Red. There we go. Mighty Cootie Fire. I'm about to call out the spy boy. Indian Red. Indian Red. Mighty Cootie Fire. Indian Red. Indian Red. And I say, take a look at the spy. So when I say take a look at the spy boy, go, you just be shaking. When I say take, this is what you got to do. When I call your position out, and say take a look at the spy boy, you hear your name, you go, spy boy. Spy boy, that boy. Pretty spy boy. Wake up in the morning by the ring, ring, ring. All I see is the same old thing. I'm the spy boy. Pretty in the front, Pretty in the back. Only the yellow poker hunters, we dress like that. I'm the star boy. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Look. I got 24 stitches across my chest. All right. So you gotta make up a rhyme.
Okay.
Rhyme, all right? So, all right. Come on, y'all. We calling out the spy boy. Mare Kudifayo. Take a look at the spy boy. Spy boy. Spy boy of the nation. The whole world. And he won't bow down. And he won't. And you do that, you ain't bowing down, and he won't bow down on that dirty ground. Because I love to hear you call my Indian red. Now, spy boy, you need to go line up, stay in your position, because we about to line up, because we're going to what? War. We're going to war. Stay, hold your ground. All right, now the next position we call is the flag boy. So we're gonna call the flag boy out. Flag boy gonna go run with the flag. Gonna go run with the flag. And you can say stuff like, Daniel Boone was brave, Daniel Boone was scared. Daniel Boone died with a pilly gun sled. I woke up in the morning by the ring of the bell. Come out my house, I'm pretty, can't you tell? Pretty in the front, pretty in the front, pretty in the back. Only the flag boy for the hunters, we dress like that. See what I'm saying? All right? You just make up. I always say this, because they like rappers. I think the Indians were the first rappers. All right? Mare Kudifayo. Mare Kudifayo. Take a look at the flag boy. Flag boy. Flag boy of the nation. The whole world. And he won't bow down. And he won't bow down on that ground. Because I love to hear you call my Indian red. Mare Kudifayo. Mare Mare Kudifayo. Take a look at a wild. Do your job. Be wild. Get wild. Wild. Get a bit of wild man. Yeah. I'm the wild man. I'm the wild man.
I'm the wild man.
Come on.
Pretty in the front, pretty in the back. I may be wild, but I got style.
All right. Come on. Pretty queen. Now what the queen does, when we call out the queen, she pretty queen, she be pretty. Say, I'm the pretty queen. Queen of the nation.
I'm the pretty queen.
Queen of the nation. Queen with a bad reputation.
Queen with a bad reputation.
I'm the pretty queen.
I'm the pretty queen.
Yeah! All right. Give them a hand, y'all. But that's what we do. And if you got 45 members, you got to call out everybody in the tribe to line up. Mm-hmm. And at the end, then they call out the chief, and then we go on our journey. Mm-hmm. That's how we do it. It's a whole lot of fun, but you got to see, and I think you get a chance to see on the documentary when two tribes meet. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Beautiful thing. Yeah. But that's what we do. And we've been doing this for over 100 some more years. Just like I said, Nothing changed. Nothing changed. And we always have a tambourine. This is our drum. There's a lot of songs that we sing, like Shallow Water. It goes like this. It's call and response. And we're going to do it for a minute. Shallow water, oh mama. Wait. Shallow water, oh mama. No, say it. Come on, you're gonna say it with me, cause I gotta come in and do the lead part, and you're gonna do the background part. It's shallow. It's call and response. Yep. So I may say, Spy boy coming in flag boy 2. Shallow water, oh mama. Gonna meet him that morning. What they gonna do? Shallow water, oh mama. I told my mother when I left home. Shallow water, oh mama. Represent my gang when I sing my song. Shallow water, oh mama. Say pretty in the front, pretty in the back. Shallow water, oh mama. I'm a downtown Indian, not dressed like that. Shallow water, oh mama. Put on my wall paint, put on my boots. Shallow water, oh mama. Come out my house, give them Indian blues. Shallow water, oh mama. Say Daniel Boone was brave, Daniel Boone was scared. Daniel Boone died with a pilly gun slave. Say, up popped the eagle, so did the deer. I'm big Chief Darryl, I have no fear. Good. And there's another, that's one of the songs we sing. Another song we sing is Shoot Fly, it's call and response. I say shoot, don't you bother me. Shoot fly, don't bother me. Say I don't want no company. Shoot fly, don't bother me. I told my mother, I told my wife. Shoot fly, don't bother me. I'm gonna mask this year if it costs my life. Shoot fly, don't bother me. It was raining outside, then it turned cold. Shoot fly, don't bother me. Said something like the rock, but I like the roll. Shoot fly, don't bother me. I walked the desert sands without making the track. Shoot fly, don't bother me. I knocked the humps off a camel's back. You know what I'm saying? That's another song we sing. Golden crown, golden crown. Big Chief got a golden crown. Heard a big chief coming from way downtown. Big Chief got a golden crown. And Who Na Na. It go Who Na Na is another song. Who Na Na, hey mama. Who Na Na, Indian sing. Who Na Na, Five boys singing now. Who Na Na, meet them on uptown. Who Na Na, who can they beat now? Who Na Na, not the big chief now. Who Na Na, I told my mother. Who Na Na, told my brother. Who Na Na, big chief singing. Who Na Na, tambourines ringing. Who Na Na, ring a ding dum dum. Who Na Na, let them come now. Who Na Na, make no kneel down. Make no turn around. Pretty, pretty big chief. Way across the water. Don't meet nobody when he giving that order. So that's another song. There's several songs that we sing. But it's a whole lot of fun. I always say that New Orleans is the closest thing you can get to Africa. When they have the second lines, I mean, you might find guys on top of houses. How do you get up there? You know, but the whole city be, I mean, and I've seen like on the news, I've seen pictures of how they act in Africa when they celebrate, the same thing. Same thing. In New Orleans, it's like this. There was a councilman that had died, and his funeral was at St. Louis Cathedral. That's in the French Quarters, right by Jackson Square. And we stopped at Subway to get a sandwich. And there was a couple from Australia was sitting down, and we heard them talking. We knew they had an accent, and we knew they wasn't from New Orleans. So we asked them, were they tourists? They said, yeah. They said, we come down here on a 6-week vacation, and it was 6 months later, and they were still in New Orleans. But that's the kind of place it is. That's the kind of place it is. But having said that, the documentary that you all were able to see, that was the very last one. And what we want to show now is the one before the last one. And you can kind of tie it all together. All right, and after that, I'll kind of tell y'all about some other stuff.
Basically make that statement that when Chief is in retirement, I've got it. I'm going to carry it on.
The Black Mardi Gras Indians set their own standards and established their own values based on tradition, respect, and creativity. This is a major example of Black cultural self-determination.
When they practice, they be plotting what they're going to do when they meet the enemy.
First position is the tribe boy. He's usually 2 blocks in front of the tribe. His job is to find and scout and look for other tribes that may be out on the street. Once he discovers a tribe in sight, he signals to the flag boy, who in turn signals to the chief, and lets the chief know that there's a gang ahead. There's a certain way the flag boy does with his flag that the chief can look at the flag and know that he's saying a gang up ahead. The wild man's position, what he does is he basically keeps the crowd.
What everybody do, like when Mardi Gras Day, like if a guy seeing me around here, we get to around with a crowd of people like around all in the street, he go brag. If all y'all seen too, they say, no, you see him? Yeah. How you look? Woo! I don't see how you doing. And boy, they're waiting. Where did you see it? Where did you see it, man? It might be ball in the clear ball and trying to make it to St. Philip and St. Claude. He's pulling out around and they got to see me. They're anxious. You see out there, come on the street. Everybody look, even the Indian themselves, they look.
My heart gets full when I see him put this costume on. Everybody said, "Which lady?" All excited. I said, "Yeah, I'm all excited because we like to make beautiful things, and since I'm a part of that, I feel just good to see them and put on that costume and walk out the door."
Big Chief Darryl Montana is an icon. And by icon, I mean sacred figure.
The younger generation, because they really don't mask and play Indian the way how they're supposed to. So I think it's our responsibility, if we want to keep our culture, we have to educate.
People like Darryl Montana were also role models for those of us that people, quote, consider fine artists. I mean, these men were making art when we were kids. We saw that art, and we imitated it in different kinds of ways, but they were like role models for us. Somebody who was surprised once when I referred to Tootie as an artist. I'd like to know what else could you possibly refer to him as? You know, what the man does is art. And it's beautifully done. And it is there for us to see and to study.
We have to be not the younger generation, because they really don't mask and play Indian the way how they're supposed to. So I think it's our responsibility, if we want to keep our culture, we have to educate.
People like Darryl Montana were also role models for those of us that people, quote, consider fine artists. I mean, these men were making art when we were kids. We saw that art, and we imitated it in different kinds of ways, but they were like role models for us. Somebody who was surprised once when I referred to Tootie as an artist. I'd like to know what else could you possibly refer to him as? You know, what the man does is art. And it's beautifully done. And it is there for us to see and to study.
We have to be not.
Mardi Gras 2015, I'm redoing this suit. I'm not gonna do his suit. I'm doing the same exact designs. I'm doing it in white, silver, and gold, but I'm gonna be in like a turquoise blue. But I'm doing the same thing, and I was telling them today was that I got a chance to go and travel to the University of Iowa, and they showed me these flex pipes that they use. My daddy was good at what he did, but when it come to the crowns, I truly believe I'm the best in the world. I'm not just, you gotta see my crowns. So the crown that I'm gonna make, I'm doing the white suit, but in another color, the same designs, but the crown that I'm about to do is gonna be made where you'll see one crown here, because most of the time our feathers are right here. But I'm gonna also have these flex tubes that's gonna be put into these little sockets where there'll be a crown here and also a third crown behind me. So when you look at me, it's gonna look like I'm standing inside a tunnel. And that's what I do. You know, my daddy took it to one level and he inspired me to be creative. He was like this. If you copied what he did, and he was hard on folks, he said, well, you just copying what you see me do. So I always have to be the one to push it a little further. And at first, because when he died, we never really got a chance to really talk about some issues. And I never forget, he would always tell me this, that he created this star crown. And when he said in the documentary, he mentioned it in the other documentary, I think. He said he mentioned it to his daddy. When he mentioned it to his daddy just kind of laughed. But his daddy never lived to see it. And I find myself in the same position that my daddy was with his daddy. I never really got a chance to tell him a lot of stuff that he told me. I never really got a chance to tell him, Daddy, you was right. So the cycle continues.
On average, how much do the costumes cost? And who funds them?
We fund the suits ourselves. Let me just tell you a situation. And when you're an artist, I don't look at the money side of it. I look at the hours spent. To make a suit like that, it takes, because I counted what kind of time I put into what I do. I spend about 5,000 hours a year to make one suit. I'm not talking about my mama's help, my wife's help, my brother's help, my two sisters' help, friends' help, they help me too. But I sit in one spot, 5,000 hours. I really don't have a life. And for me to be able to come to New York, or to Rochester, New York, it's a breather for me. See what I'm saying? Because most times in the documentary, there's another guy that dressed with us. He said that if that's not self-incarceration, because that's what it is. And I'm going to tell you something. For the first 10 years, like my daddy would always say, for the first 10 years, he did it for this guy. And I find myself in the same situation. When I was young and I wanted to do it, my daddy didn't want me to do it. And when I was 9 years old, I used to work, we lived over a body and fender shop. And I used to go on weekends and wash the cars and sweep the pavement and got money from doing that, 9 years old. And I got my allowance from my daddy, and I went and bought my own supplies. And I did it myself. He didn't want me to do it, but I always say, he said he wanted to keep it in the family, but what if I wouldn't have took the initiative to do it? Then it would no longer be in our family. But one suit I did was the umbrella crown. It was in the last documentary. I used these pheasant feathers. The pheasant feathers that go by the length. These particular feathers were 36 inches long. The longer the feather, the more they cost. Those feathers was like $20 a feather. I needed 400 feathers. That was just the spice. So if I had paid for those 400 feathers at the going price, those feathers would have cost me $8,000 just for the feathers, not the rest of the stuff. So what I'm saying to you is that we have jobs, we work, and we make a budget. And this is going towards the suit. I was fortunate for the last 19 years, I teach a class at Xavier University every summer. The money I make for the summer at the camp was my feather money, my suit money that go towards my suit. Just the first time in 19 years, I didn't get a chance to work they didn't have the camp. Being there on this trip is gonna allow me to make my suit. So thank you. Yeah, but it's about giving, it's about the people. I've gotten my all in all out of doing it, and New Orleans, going through what we've been through, if I could take and make the sacrifice to put smiles and happiness and joy on our people's faces for one day, then I did my job.
How did y'all trace our heritage a little bit? Y'all were Mr. Creole.
Well, my daddy spoke Creole. My grandmother spoke Creole. In fact, my grandmother was on her dying bed. She wouldn't speak English. And when my daddy would come to see her, she started talking. But she wouldn't say, all she would do when we tried to talk to her, she wouldn't say a word. She would just look at us. My daddy walked in the door and started speaking Creole. They had a conversation. But she wouldn't talk to us. But it was in our family. In the Seventh Ward, that's where most of the Creoles, and people think that most Creoles are light-skinned. Wasn't so, because my daddy was darker than me. He was the only one in the household out of all of, because he had a brother and a sister. They didn't speak it. He did. He picked up on it. My sister, and I don't know a whole lot of Creole, I know this though. When my daddy uncles would come, they would be talking a little Creole talk, and he used to tell them, because at that time I was starting to date girls and stuff like that, and he would say Maoye. Maoye in Creole mean marriage. And Proto told me, take your time. They used to be saying stuff like that. So I picked up on that. I knew they were talking about me. But other than that, I don't know any Creole. I didn't know my little sister, she knew French, so it's a similar, to Creole. But I really didn't, so that was something that we lost. But yeah, they were Creole.
It's amazing how y'all can remember y'all heritage, because like a lot of people don't know their ancestral.
Yeah, it's very, very, it's about passing it on, y'all. And I would tell all of you, if you get a chance to do your genealogy, you know what's amazing to me in this country? And it's a race situation. That we as people, we deal with issues as it relates to color. And a lot of times, I've heard folks in conversation say that they have Indian blood in them and they have black blood in them. And a lot of times we have issues with one another with race issues. And this country never talks about, when people say race, people get quiet. They don't want to talk about it. But I really think that we really need to have some dialogue as it relates to race issues, and we kill up one another and we hate one another and stuff like that. But really, if you look at it, 9 times out of 10, most times we always be just about related. Yeah. If you trace your history. So, and that's a whole nother story, y'all. But again, New Orleans, Louisiana is a beautiful place to be. I've gone some places, and during Katrina, I was working at a school, and they paid me a good salary. Like they was trying to get me, because I was basically teaching the kids what we do in New Orleans. I was teaching it in Texas. And they were trying to get me to stay. And I know for what I do, I have to live, I got to be home. I got to be in New Orleans. Yes, sir.
If your father was alive, what do you think he would say to you in regards to carrying on his legacy?
He would say, you sure surprised me. Because see, my daddy thought, in the documentary, there was a part where he said that you can't fake it. You can't say it's there and it's not there. And I believe at the time for him to say what he said, I'm going to get to you in a minute. He was probably observing me and thinking that I really didn't have a love for it. But if I made the sacrifice to sit down and stay inside a whole year to make this, I must have some kind of passion for it, And everybody in the community, they thought that when he died, that it was going to fade out in our family. And it just made me even more motivated to continue doing it. When somebody doubt me, they just add fuel to the fire.